Hey gang, today let's talk about anxiety. Yes, it is possible to experience anxiety even in non-duality. The feeling, at least for me, is um, because there's no person inside to which you could attach the sense of anxiety. It's much more just a feeling in the body. For me, primarily in the diaphragm area. And I think it's important just to acknowledge that it's happening. You don't want to do what's called spiritual bypassing, where you convince yourself that that it's not happening. That, because of some kind of imagined advanced spiritual state, I no longer experience anxiety. So whatever that is, it's not anxiety and it's not happening to me. That's not what non-duality and awakening is, from my perspective. From my perspective, there is no sense of self inside to attach it to. So in other words, I can't say that I am anxious because I don't know who that would be. But there is certainly anxiety present. And I find that the best way to deal with that is just to acknowledge it. I go, oh yeah, there it is. It's in that part of the body. And then to do what you can. So if the anxiety is about money, okay, have you done everything you can to get your budget and finances in order? Because sometimes the anxiety is real. Generalized anxiety is the kind of suffering where your body, your nervous system, your psychological state are creating anxiety for no specific reason. It's just kind of like your natural state. But sometimes anxiety is there for a very valid reason. If you are going on a spending spree and you're broke, and then you suddenly feel anxious about spending money, that's a rational fear. That's probably a self-preservative fear. There's some part of your brain that's going, hey, what you're doing isn't good long term. It might feel good now, but it could lead to disaster. You should probably stop doing that. So with any anxiety, the only way to know if it's real or if it's sort of, generalized is to look at the specific fear. So again, we're looking at money as an example. And you say, okay, if the fear is about, I'm going to run out of money, let me look at my finances. Have I done everything I can to get my financial house in order? So am I saving every month? Do I have, an emergency fund where if the worst should happen, I have some money, cash, not a credit card, but cash to pay for the thing? From a long-term perspective, am I saving for retirement? Am I saving for the future? Am I paying off all my debts, right? Like basic financial health questions. If you go through that list and you discover that, no, there's something I could be doing better, then go do that and see if it doesn't address the anxiety. If you do that, and or if you've done everything you can and the anxiety is still there, then you have to recognize that it's really more of a generalized anxiety that's not tied to anything specific, and is really more reflective about what's just going on in your psychology today. And in that case, obviously, some things you could do would be breathwork exercises. There's all sorts of videos on YouTube about how to manage anxiety within your body. And most of them are either progressive relaxation or breath work. So you could do that. You could take a walk. You could write your thoughts down in a journal. That seems to help people. If you just write out the worst fear, it stops you ruminating about it because you got it on paper, and then you look at it and you go, well, now wait a minute. If something bad happened, I'm not going to lose everything. That's not realistic. It helps you when you put it on paper to see kind of how silly the fear is, and that can help to alleviate the anxiety. And then stepping back from a non-dual perspective, which is really the purpose of this channel, just because you wake up, just because you move into non-duality, doesn't mean that anxiety disappears, because you're still a human being living in the physical world, or the seemingly physical world anyway. And so you have concerns that you have to deal with. If non-duality gives you an advantage with regard to this, is that it gives you a lot of space around the anxiety so it doesn't seem as overwhelming, and you are able to maybe take more of a proactive approach in dealing with it rather than feeling overwhelmed by it and feeling like, there's nothing you can do, maybe falling into despair versus feeling like, no, this is something that I can manage. This is something I can deal with. I have the power to deal with it, because you realize the anxiety, while it's happening, it's a real thing. You're not bypassing it. You're not dissociating. It's happening. You acknowledge it, but it's not happening to you because you don't exist. It's just a thing that's happening. So just like anything else, like if your roof was leaking, the first thing you do would be to put a bucket under the leak so it doesn't ruin your floor and your ceiling. And then you go deal with the leak, right? Anxiety is the same way. It's happening, and you just start immediately taking steps to deal with it. Anyway, I know that a lot of folks these days are anxious because of, the fact that we're alive in the world. If there's something that's bothering you that you'd like to talk about, please leave it in the comments. Talk to you soon. Hope you enjoyed the video.